Hi everyone, thanks for being here. I'm Mandy. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my expired listing script. And this is the second video in a two-part series. The first video was going over my for sale by owner scripts. In case you missed that video, I'm going to include a link at the end of this one. Let's get started. The first thing I want you to take into consideration before making these calls is the seller's mindset. Keep in mind that the seller is feeling rejected by the market in this moment. They wanted to sell their home, they didn't accomplish their goal, and they're very frustrated. And they don't trust anyone, especially agents that are coming out of the woodwork now to try to secure the listing. So they're kind of acting like a child in this moment. They're having a temper tantrum. And I don't mean this disrespectfully to the seller. Selling a home is a very emotional experience. There's a lot of moving parts to the process, and you're trying to transition in life. And if you can't do that for one reason or another, you're going to feel frustrated. That's very normal. So in this relationship here, I want you to assume the role of the parent. I want you to be very calming and reassuring to the seller. Now, because they're so emotional, they are going to be negative, and they'll probably hurl some insults during the call. Now, if they're abusive with you, if they're using profanity and things like that, I don't want you to stick around for the call. A lot of times if people are that way with me, I'll just turn the volume down and let them hang up, but I won't engage with them. But if they're not being abusive, but are just being negative, you're going to have to kind of take that on and navigate the call with that energy. And again, just be the parent, try to calm them down and listen to them. Before you get on the call, it is very important that you take 10 minutes to get yourself into the right mindset so you can deal with all the emotions that are coming your way. The way that I suggest you do this is there's a couple different ways you can consider. You can pray. If you're someone that prays, I would suggest doing that. If you're not into prayer, you can consider exercise. If you're not a big exerciser, you can meditate. Whatever it takes to get yourself into the zone of giving and not worrying about your own problems. You want to take your own problems and your own daily life worries and put them aside because you are now jumping on the phone to serve others, to show others empathy. And you can't do that if you're bogged down with your own issues. So taking this 10 minutes to clear your head and your heart is going to make you more valuable on the phone. I like to say that you are now the sponge because you are going to be soaking up the fears and the frustrations like a good parent. You're there to make the other person feel good. And in order to do that, you've got to come from a place of strength and a clear head. And taking these 10 minutes will put yourself into that area where you can be there for others. Ring, ring. Hello, Ms. Jones. This is Mandy calling with eXp Realty. I noticed your home just came off the market and I was wondering two things. Number one, do you still want to sell? And number two, are you considering interviewing new agents for a fresh selling strategy? I like to get right to the point, especially when calling an expired seller, because I know they are getting inundated with so many calls on the first day they come off the market and probably for the next couple weeks after. So I get right to the point. I make sure that my tonality is very cheerful, but I'm also very direct so I can assess the situation and determine if there's an opportunity there. So Ms. Jones has answered the call. Now we've entered into the ice-breaking phase of the call. So I've got my way in, and there's two tools now that I want you to use to try to work further down the iceberg. They are empathy and humor. I want you to be a little bit playful with the seller if you feel like they might want to engage in that way, and I also want you to show them that you care about them. You might say to them, where were all of us agents when you were listed? You're probably wondering that, right? I know it's frustrating. I hear you. I can totally understand your position. And you can joke with them and say, let me guess, am I caller 39? Remember, be playful. They know you want something, that's why you're calling. You know you want something, that's why you're calling. But they also have a need, and maybe that's why they decided to pick up the phone. So just try to take it to the next level as you work your way through the conversation. So that brings us to the investigating part of the phone call, step 3. I'm curious, Mr. and Ms. Seller, tell me about your experience on the market. What happened? So you are here to listen now and ask them questions so you can collect as much data as possible. Generally speaking, a home doesn't sell because of price, condition, or lack of exposure. Why do you think it didn't sell? If the home had sold, Mr. and Ms. Seller, where would you have gone? What was your original timeline for selling? And then you can also ask them, how did you select your last agent? This information doesn't have to be gathered in any particular order. These are just questions for you to kind of learn more about the situation so you can determine how you can help the seller. Here are a couple more questions that you can ask. What was the buyer feedback? Did you check with the buyer's agents that brought their buyers through to see what they were thinking, maybe why they didn't make an offer? Or you can ask them, if you do decide to list again, what would you want your new agent to do differently? This is a very important question to ask because you want to make sure that you meet their expectations. And by asking them this question, you can ensure that you do if they decide to move forward. Why all of the questions? Remember, the expired seller is very stressed out and they need to vent and release anxiety. We don't want to talk over them. We don't want to talk too much. We want to sit back and listen. Listening and showing empathy is so, so important. Listening to them shows them that you care. Use their name a lot too. I read or heard somewhere that everyone's favorite word is their name. So use their name appropriately during the conversation. You hear them, the individual. They're not just some seller you want to make commission off of. You care about them. Say their name. And also, the more you know about their circumstances, the more you can help them, the more you can decide, what you can do to create a new strategy to help them get the home sold. And here's a little example I wanted to give you guys. If you're married now and you think back to your first date that you had with your spouse, did they ask you to marry them on the first date? Chances are that probably did not happen. You would be like, no way, I don't even know you. It's the same thing with these calls. You're slowly getting to know them and they're slowly getting to know you and trust you. So you have to take things one step at a time. It's very rare that you're going to schedule a listing appointment on the first call with a seller. It's a slow process and it usually involves a lot of nurturing of the lead. So take your time. Don't try to rush. Remember, the call is not about us. It's always about them and how we can help them. So now you've opened the call, you've chipped through a little bit of ice, you've asked questions to learn about the seller's circumstances, and they're still talking with you. They're still engaging. Now is a good time to show them your value proposition. You want to show, what makes you, the agent or your team, stand out. And you can deliver that value by maybe telling them that, we've sold in your neighborhood before. And we've got an over asking price, whatever it is. We offer flexible commission. We offer flexible listing terms. We have a great social media marketing plan that works for our sellers. Or we have proprietary tools here at our brokerage that are going to give you, the seller, every advantage on the market. Whatever your value proposition is, you want to make sure that you discuss it here at this point in the call because you still have their attention, they're listening. So show that value and that's going to make them want to take that next step with you. Now, a second ago, I told you that most listing appointments don't happen with the first phone call. That's true, but you can still schedule with the first phone call. So I always want you to ask and at least try. You definitely want to ask for that listing appointment. You can say something like, I would love to see the home. A no strings attached conversation, I promise you, and then you decide what feels right. It's very helpful to see the product or your home up close because I want to view it from a buyer's perspective. And then you can tell them that you will provide them with your market insights and your selling strategies at the meeting. Let them know that the meeting won't take long, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, and assure them that you're going to be honest with all of your feedback. I don't want to waste anyone's time. And make sure you get their email address. Their email address is so important because if you're not able to get the appointment with this first call, you can stay in touch with them with market updates or any other information that you think will be valuable to them. And that email list is just very, very important. Continue to nurture them and show your market competency and your empathy throughout the process after this phone call. So there you go, guys. Those are my expired listing scripts. Let me know what you think about them. I would love to get your comments down below. And remember, if you didn't check out my for sale by owner scripts, I am putting a link on this video here as well. And if you found the video to be helpful, please leave me a thumbs up. I hope to see you on the next video. Take care.